My 18 meters girlfriend, 17F, posted a snap with her ex after we got into an argument. Basically, my girlfriend and I got into one of our many arguments, and then like an hour after that she goes and posts a snap of her and her ex-boyfriend laying in her bed. I replied to it like WTF and she's like, chill, we're just friends. That didn't look friendly at all. This is a valid reason to dump her, right? What the hell? Bro, I think you already know the answer to this question. Sorry you're going through this, man. You could say, cool. Now you can do a selfie with me in your bed too and you'll have a pic with both of your exes. Block and delete. Don't give her the big blow up reactionary breakup she wants. Yes, absolutely. The snap was clearly intended to her top. That's enough reason to end a relationship, without even getting into what it implies. Also, you don't need a reason to break up with someone. If that's what you want, that's enough. Lol, yes my guy. Don't be a dope. She's doing it to piss you off and it's immature. There's other flags here, I bet. I, 33F, feel embarrassed when my husband, 36M, is rude to others. My husband has a tendency to be grumpy and often that comes out as rudeness/sharpness. I can mostly handle it when it's directed at me, but I get incredibly uncomfortable if it's at or in the presence of others. If I bring it up to him, he gets defensive and tells me he is not being rude. I understand that rudeness is my perception, but it still really bothers me to be associated with it. I believe my husband when he says that he doesn't think he is being rude intentionally, but I also don't think that means the behavior isn't generally perceived by most people as rude. X. Not using please, can you/would you, upset tone of voice, walking off when angry, etc. How would you guys handle this? We don't see eye to eye and I don't know what to do. I am not sure that I can just let it go as the behavior really bothers me. I'm going to give you some wonderful advice my mom gave me many years ago. It has saved me numerous times in relationships. Anything that bothers you now, in your relationship, will only bother you 20 times more in 2 years. What he is doing bothers you. Imagine how much it will bother you 2 years from now. It's time to reevaluate your relationship, because I can promise you that being grumpy isn't an excuse for being a straight-up a-hole. I wouldn't be comfortable with someone who was often rude and sharp with me. Rudeness isn't a perception. Not saying please, using an upset tone of voice, walking off when angry, especially when done in public or with strangers, are rude behaviors as a common standard. Your husband isn't open to your feedback if he tells you he isn't being rude when he is. So I guess, much as I hate to say this, that your choices are to put up with this and distance yourself emotionally from his behavior, or leave him, or keep working on him until he assents to your POV, which I agree with. My boyfriend is like this. I've come to see his intention isn't to be rude, he's just sort of short with people and he gets overwhelmed or anxious sometimes and comes off snippety. We talk about it quite a bit. I've explained a few times why the way he says things would make someone feel bad. Sometimes I've repeated back to him things he's said. He's come around a lot and actually asks me after interactions if he did okay. He's a lot more patient now. I guess I had to make it clear that it doesn't matter if he thinks it's rude or not, he's hurting people's feelings. He doesn't want to hurt people's feelings. The ability to self-reflect and create positive change for yourself is awesome. Kudos to both of you! Exclamation mark. I would note _specific _ examples that you see as they happen, and then later privately, sit him down and explain how those instances make you feel. If he's willing to work on it, that's great, but you need to see marked improvement in actions, not just words. I don't fuck with people who are rude to others in public. One of my few hard lines. If you didn't see major changes very quickly, I'd personally move along. This is helpful. And this behavior isn't necessarily new, but in the past I wore rose-colored glasses in regards to our relationship. He can also be really supportive and loving loving towards me when he's in a good mood, so I think I would get over things because of that. I have been working in myself and my boundaries a lot, and I am coming to a place where I realize that all the nice doesn't just neutralize this aspect that really bothers me anymore. We don't have children yet, but I have a hard time envisioning happily raising a family with someone that seems to have a chip on their shoulder. Don't want my kids to look at the world that way. My grandfather is similar, and I honestly don't know how my grandma has put up with it for so long. I can see how much it hurts her, although she would never say it out loud. Now I'm trying to figure out if this is something that can be improved on, or if I am expecting him to change more than is reasonable. Please, as someone who was a food server, keep him at home. There is no excuse for being rude. He's not grumpy. I'm in a bad mood sometimes, but I still show other humans basic kindness. My M29 son, M5, keeps crying multiple times a day because he wants his mum, F29, to come back home. So long story short, my ex-fiancée left our family home 12 weeks ago. Check my history for the full story. At the moment our son spends 4 nights at mine and 3 nights with her. For the first while he seemed okay. My ex is currently living with her mum. Our son was excited to have more sleepovers at his nan's house. But the past few weeks he's been getting really upset around bedtime. He'll tell me he's about to cry and come to me for a hug. For a while he kept telling me he didn't know why he was sad, but after a while he told me he was upset because mummy didn't live here. I asked if he'd prefer daddy to live somewhere else and mummy could come back home. This caused him to get more upset, so I assured him I was going nowhere. I told him this will always be our home, but mummy doesn't want to live here anymore. I've tried bringing it up with my ex, but she passed it aside, saying he isn't like that with her, so she either thinks I'm making it up or doesn't see it as an issue. But recently the crying episodes have got more frequent. He has them multiple times a day. I'm starting to get really worried about him. He's at such an impressionable age, and I don't this to be some of his earliest memories. I always tell him we both still love him and we'll always be there for him. Another thing I'm worried about is the fact that my ex has already introduced our son to her new partner of a few weeks. Now my son is asking if I have a new girlfriend and if she has a new kid for him to play with. Really appreciate any advice I can get because I'm so worried about him. Honestly, a counselor if you can afford it. It's really hard on kiddos when a parent first leaves. Sometimes they have groups in schools if he is going that help with this sort of thing. I went to one of these school groups. It was called Banana Splits. It was a good group, and I remember it being helpful to talk to the other kids and the people who ran it about some of the problems I was facing when my parents split. Talk to your ex again, explain your worries and that you think he needs to see someone and get looked at. Also maybe suggest her coming one night a week to do bedtime there if you are doing more of a co-parenting route. I've been there, as the kid. My parents divorced when I was around 4 years. And for years I would miss my mom when I was at my dad. We did 2 days mom, 2D dad, 5D mom, 5D dad, but never the other way around. And my mom would travel 2 to 3 times a year for 2 to 3 weeks, which I would spend at my dad's. I don't remember every detail perfectly, but what I do remember is how great my dad was. How he never told me to stop talking about my mom or asking about her. How he never made me feel like it was unfair that I missed her and not him. How I never felt he resented her for that, etc. I had a picture of my mom by my bed. He would let me call her sometimes before going to bed for a few words, and would listen to me and tell me how much he loved me even though I was asking for my mom a lot. And it had nothing to do with me not loving my dad. He was a great dad and I always loved him. I was just a young kid missing her mom. And my dad being there for me even though it was probably hard on him made all the difference in the world. What I remember from that period of my life is me looking at a picture of my mom while my dad was putting me to sleep without making me feel like I was doing something wrong. It made staying at my dad easier for me, and also helped us maintain a very strong relationship, because he was there for me, whatever I was going through. I understand it's very hard on you. I hope you manage to see it doesn't mean your kid doesn't love you too. Be there for him, let him know his feelings are valid, and he'll be so grateful for it later in life. Have you had him call his mom when he gets like that? She could help assure him that he's okay and she loves him, daddy loves him, etc. My stepson went through a very similar thing. Would cry and get very upset sometimes about being at one parent's house versus the other. Being able to call the other parent helped him calm down.